Guys, it's been a journey full of pain, full of hardship, but ultimately full of success. Guys, what's up? I am Felris, sailing the seas of Raid Shadow Legends, here to tell you everything that I have learned from spending way too much time on Faction Wars. Guys, if you notice here on the screen, we have finished every single faction crypt except the good old Lizardmen. So we're almost to Lydia. I just have to finish the Lizardmen faction, and everything I've learned from doing all the other crypts is going to help me. Guys, I'm gonna tell you what's up. Hey, you, stop right there. Click the link in the description below to get a free Corrado, as well as Fane, Ugo, and Vergus as you level up your account in Raid. Here's exactly how to do it. Log out of Flareon Play on PC and uninstall. Click the link in the description below and register with a brand new email. Log in and complete the tutorial. You'll find Corrado in your inbox, as well as Fane, Ugo, and Vergus as you level up. If you're looking for a great start in Raid, this is your chance. Make sure you get your free Corrado as well as 3 free epics by clicking my link right away. All right, so we finished the dwarves. All right, we finished the dwarves, and I did some rather interesting stuff to finish the dwarves. So if we go into my dwarf filter here and we filter by faction, I am using, like, MVP here is Philia. So Philia, I did a video on her before. I've mentioned her. We all know she's really good, but like, she is putting out 100k smacks with 4.2k attack and 219% crit damage. Guys, admittedly, she is also in Helm Smasher. I did buy her masteries, went down to Helm Smasher, and also picked up Heaven Cast as well. But guys, there's no books in her. I am going to fix that during CVC. We're gonna book her, but Philia is like MVP, our main damage dealer in lethal and cruel gear, and she is absolutely awesome. So also, Rearguard Sergeant is amazing as well. I did take her to 60s with 6 Ascension so that I could get some more speed on her at 236 so that she can heal. What I have learned from doing the Dwarf Crypt is that you don't actually need a reviver. As long as your healer, which Rearguard Sergeant is our healer in this case, can go fast enough and your damage dealers can do enough damage, you're fine. You're fine. Geomancer helps a lot as well because he has a fully deplete target's turn meter. So basically, the strategy was just to nuke with Philia and Mountain King, control a little bit with Geomancer, heal with Rearguard Sergeant, and then Morag has this ally attack here that's really helpful as well. So that's kind of what I learned from Faction Wars. Even epics can do good damage, guys. There's another very valuable lesson from Faction Wars for the dwarves. I also managed to get by with just 1 healer / ally protector, which is very, very good. Now, what have I learned from, like, the Knights Revenant? Now, Knights Revenant is open today, and I actually don't need an AoE nuker. So if we get into, like, it is possible to do without an AoE nuker. Like, my factions are so lopsided right now. They are just so lopsided. Here we go. Knights Revenant. I have very, very few Knights Revenant. We've got Queen, we've got Mad Hatter, Los and Kaleth, and Rector Droth, and then I actually use Skeletor in my Faction Wars team as well. He's like the closest thing we have to some sort of damage dealer, I guess. Kaleth is crit capped with some crit damage. He can nuke a little bit, but he's not like anything crazy, and he's super, super, super slow, right? He's only at 180 speed, so nothing too crazy. But yeah, you can do it without an AoE nuke as long as you have really good support. So Queen of Hearts is of course a great support. Mad Hatter, of course, a great support, and Rector Droth, of course, a great support as well. Now, just some more general ideas for Faction Wars. Most factions, or at least many factions, have a epic reviver that is really good. So like Ursula the Mourner is a great example. The famous fusion, not that guy, the famous fusion champion Broadmaw is a great example. Dur the Hungerer from Demon Spawn is a great example as well. As well as, let's see, who else do I have? Who else do we have? I believe there's a, Hulfreeze the Tusked is a great example as well. So a lot of factions have these epic revivers that just revive 2 random allies and then have some other effect on top of that. If you build out these guys to 50, they can do the job. You only have to 3-star the thing once, right? They can do their job at 50, and they're relatively accessible champions that you can have on your team. In the case of Broadmaw, you can actually have multiple on your team very easily because he is a permanent fusion inside the game. If I had another Huntress, I would fuse up another Broadmaw for my Lizardmen faction wars. But, you know, a lot of those champions are at 50 for me, right? So we've got the Broadmaw at 50, we've got the Hofreeze at 50 without gear, we've got the Dur at 50, and the best build for these guys I have found is a regen set. You know, they're at 50. They're not as tanky as they could be, but a regen set adds a little extra healing, a little extra survivability. Make sure that they can get off their revives. Another idea, book the revives. Book the revives so that you can get through that content far more easily. Another thing I have learned from Faction Wars is not all your champs have to be at 60 at all, right? So for Shadowkin, for example, and my Shadowkin team is about to get destroyed because I probably don't need Tomaway and Fenshi anymore because I've 3-starred everything. But Tomaway and Fenshi are only at level 50. They're pretty good for the team, but they're not essential, right? Lady Kimi, Arashi the Riptide, and Ninja are the only 60s, and that's either because I need them for other content or I need them for videos, as you saw in yesterday's video, guys. So you don't need to have everybody at 60. If we take a look at my Lizardmen, and this is going to be the one where I really have to apply. I only have 5 Lizardmen on my entire account. Raz and Scarhide is probably going to be the next 60. I'm fine leaving Broadmaw at 50. He's in double immortal, so he has that survivability. We're going to book the revive, as I said. We're probably going to end up taking Razin to 60, though, just for damage. He's not in the greatest gear by any means. I mean, 2.7k defense isn't good, but that's why I think we're taking him to 60. We might try to put him in like lethal or something just for some extra ignore defense. Venomage is at 60. She's missing a chest plate. I don't know why, but she does work. She's still kicking it with 236 accuracy. As far as these two go, these two I'd love to replace. So my second Venomage and my Teryx the Restless, I'd love to replace these guys. So this weekend we're expecting 2x mythicals, and fingers crossed for a Lazarius, right? Fingers crossed for a Lazarius. That would fix my Razin problem as well. I really don't want to invest in Razin, but with Lydia being so close, like literally we're on the final set of rewards. At the bottom of the screen here you can see the set of rewards and that eternal soul. We're like on the final push. I've cleared everything in Lizardmen except 8 stages. So, like, it's really tempting for me to invest those kinds of resources. The other thing is, like, you can make a team out of literally anybody that you have, but you probably want those revivers at least for your first clear. I also fed a lot of epics that I could have used. One epic that I actually regret feeding. I mean, the list grows longer every day, guys. Every time I do one of these videos. Oh, yeah, there's another epic that I regret feeding. Quargon. Maybe I mentioned this recently, but Quargon would actually be fantastic right now because he has this heal. Heals all allies by 15% of their max HP and places a shield buff equal to 15% of their max HP on all allies for 2 turns. So with that combined with the revives from Broadmaw, if we book those skills, it could actually be super solid and potentially essential in helping me clear faction wars. One champion that I probably shouldn't have fed either, as far as healing goes, I shouldn't have fed my Jareg. I had Jareg and I fed him. I love this champ, by the way. The passive, Sheltering Scales, places continuous heals for 1 turn whenever an ally loses 20% of their max HP in 1 hit. Then he has ally protection and increased defense on all allies, and then an A1 decrease attack. I love Jareg. Jareg is awesome, and I fed him, and I shouldn't have. So again, the list just grows longer every single day. But who I've really been wanting is actually a Basilisk, because he has an AoE A1, so we could stick him in like Philia's gear or something, and he could do some pretty good damage there. Does he have good base attack? He has base attack. Okay, cool. Jarang, I think he's all single target damage. Yeah, but he does have an ignore defense A1, which is kind of cool. And then of course Skathix is probably, I mentioned him earlier as well. Definitely regret feeding him block debuffs and shields. builds. So hopefully we can pull some shards this weekend. We're going to be pulling primals, and assuming there's a 2x mythical, we're going to be pulling primal shards and get some of these champions. Also, I have my eye on the summon pool because there is a Quargon the Crowned in the summon pool, so we may end up going for the free crystals from the gear enhancement tournament that starts today, and end up pulling for a Quargon, or at least hoping that we get Quargon. I wouldn't mind Necmo either. Necmo is also another Lizardman. Actually, as far as getting Lizardman goes, this pool isn't bad because there's Aox the Rememberer as well, and of course Pythion, who would be like the ultimate support, or at least one of the ultimate supports for Lizardmen. Tempting to get those Lizardmen. Hopefully, I think given the fact that there's 4, I can go for the crystals and hope that a lizard pops out of a lucky lizard pops out of my shard. But yeah, definitely, don't sleep on your epics because you may need them later, especially healing epics or protecting epics. Those I think have been the most valuable to me. And then I just bring I've ended up just bringing 1 or 2 damage dealers. And then if you get a really good damage dealer epic like Philia here, you're more than fine. So maybe if you want to do Faction Wars early game, this is what I wish I would have done. I wish I would have kept, 1 or 2 healers or protectors, and then an epic damage dealer for every faction, because there are some factions that I only have 1 legendary for. Dwarves is a great example. I have a all epic team for dwarves, and my only dwarf Lego is Mountain King. Don't get me wrong, Mountain King slaps, especially with this A2, and he's super important, but he's not the best out there. He's certainly not someone you could rely on getting. So probably take a couple healers, a couple protectors from every faction. Now, one thing is here with Dark Elves. Dark Elves is weird because their epics aren't the best in the world. They do have the Reviver. Kaiden here revives 2 random allies with 50% HP and places a 60% increased defense buff on them for 2 turns. They do have the Reviver, and he looks cool. He just looks cool. But they have Madame Ceres as a very good option. They have Painkeeper, but they also have a lot of free legendaries. So they have Mithrala, who's a free legendary, and they have Vizix the Unbowed, who's also a free legendary, and Vizix is awesome. So, as well as, they have a very good rares, right? They have Painkeeper, they have Paragon, they have Coldheart. So I think Dark Elves is actually, despite the lack of good epics, I think Dark Elves is actually one of the easier factions. You get 2 free Void legendaries for the faction. Then you can use a Coldheart as a damage dealer, at least for the bosses. A Painkeeper as a healer/reset champion. Just build her fast, and she's already pretty tanky, so that's good. And I think you're good. I used Fang Cleric the first time I ran through. He's not a great epic by any stretch of the imagination unless you're super early game. And I actually like Fang Cleric super early game. I mean, he has a 2-turn heal as well as a unkillable continuous heal revive, which is fantastic, as well as a speed in all battles by 15%. And then he can cleanse himself and transfer debuffs, which is kind of cool as well. I don't mind him early game at all, but I think he falls off pretty hard. But yeah, I've also been lucky enough to pull Noct the Paralyzer and Truoth, which, it makes a really solid team. I usually throw Noct, Truoth, Vizix, Mithrala, and then I throw in Painkeeper to do some healing, although Noct can usually get that done. I mean, this squad is kind of just whoever else you want to throw in. Noct is my only damage dealer, though, for Dark Elves, so potentially what I've thought about doing, if I ever pull a Direndil, he seems like a cool champ. He has built-in ignore defense, he has turn meter fill on each crit, and then he has 50% ignore defense on his A3 with a perfect veil, and then he has a freeze A1, which seems really cool. I thought if I ever pull him, I would probably build him up as a nuker for Faction Wars, because he just seems super solid. He seems super solid, and I wouldn't mind having him at all. If he came out of my next Ancient Shard, I would keep him and I would build him, because I've learned how valuable saving your epics are, because you don't know what legendaries are going to pull. Every account is different, right? I've been lucky enough. I have quite a few legendaries. I've been pretty lucky with the ones I have pulled, but you don't know. You don't know what you're going to get. So, you probably want to save epics until you pull a legendary that can replace them, at least for most normal gameplay. And see, that was my mistake. I could have done Faction Wars so much sooner and had my Lydia so much sooner, but I was feeding epics, particularly Lizardmen epics. That one I regret. The other ones, the dwarves, I needed epics to finish. What else did I need epics to finish? Skinwalkers, I needed epics to finish. Demon Spawn, I think I did. But, like, especially Lizardmen, just, feeding all my Lizardmen was a mistake. I will say I have never fed a Delaja. I've never pulled a Delaja. Thank goodness, because, you know, but, like, there are... I just want a Lizardman epic. Let's be honest. I just want some Lizardman epics. Someone to replace Teryx. Although Teryx isn't bad, you know. He has the 50 books to 75% chance of AoE provoke, strengthen, counterattack. You could build like a crit capped Teryx to do some damage, or with War Master. That could be cool. That could be cool. But we will see, guys. But hopefully, well, one more thing that I have to mention before I end the video. One more thing is gear. Gear is not a problem for me with where I'm at in Faction Wars right now, because I've farmed a crap ton of it. I've farmed a crap ton of it, and I'm almost level 90 and just now finishing Faction Wars. So gear is not a problem. I'm not sure exactly where that line is to where, you know, gear is or is not a problem. Generally, when I build new champs for Faction Wars, I can build them under 100 speed and be fine. Or sorry, under 200 speed and be fine. I'm not entirely sure where that line is, but it does definitely exist, because I notice, like, that my nukers are very much... They do too much damage for the level of content that it's at. Not sure where that line is, but it is something worth mentioning. If you wait this long, you will probably have the gear to finish it, with just, you know, collecting champs being the main issue. But if you save your champs, if you have a team for every faction, or you know you will have a team for every faction, you save your champs, you shouldn't have any problem finishing Faction Wars. Guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I have been Felrus, sailing the seas of Raid Shadow Legends, and I'll see you in another video.